Hello, my name is Emily Reniger, and welcome back to another installment of Hashtag Feature Friday, a segment dedicated to showcasing different student athletes, coaches, and personnel in the Rising Stars Football Academy family. Now, today we have Dave Mika. Dave is the CEO and editor of EasternPAFootball.com and a co-owner of D11Sports.com. He has been covering high school football for over 20 years and has partnered with many news outlets like WNEP, RCN Sports Talk, Pennsylvania Football News, and National Football Foundation. Eastern PA Football is your number one source for all things football, from team stats to schedules to the best upcoming athletes you want to keep an eye out for. There are tons of opportunities for players, coaches, and football fans to keep up with the latest news from across a handful of different districts, so make sure you guys go check out EasternPAFootball.com after this interview, of course, to check out his work. So we appreciate him sharing his expertise with us today. So thanks for joining us, Dave. How's it going?
Good. It's been real good. There's no off season, especially with football. And I'm kind of transitioning into 2022. I'm just kind of finishing up a few things in 2021. We just recently released our all academic team. And, it's probably one of the most important things I do every year is to showcase these student athletes. We have thousands and thousands of kids on that list, and it really shows when you start looking. You get 30, 40 kids from a football program. It shows what they're doing in the classroom, and that's so important because if you don't have good grades, they're not going to look at you.
Well, yeah, let's start out with how you actually got into covering and reporting high school football. Like, when did that start for you? And at what point did you kind of realize that you wanted to start a website and kind of have this platform?
Originally, I was born in Berwick, Pennsylvania. And if anyone knows high school football, back in the day, Berwick was a superpower. They won 3 mythical national championships, 6 state titles under the legendary George Curry, who recently Jim Roth surpassed him for most wins in Pennsylvania. Well, I moved to New Jersey as a freshman at Somerville, New Jersey. We ended up winning 3 state titles there. So no matter where I lived, I always been at a town that had good high school football. But when I moved back to Pennsylvania, I just thought, you know what, let me start a website and just to put out there information that I would want as a fan. And I think about the 6th year, it really started to get popular. Through the years, you learn what people are looking for, what they're not. Like Friday night, everyone wants to know scores. I have my staff, my reporters out there Friday nights covering games, and I'm home with a couple other people to help me enter scores because we know that's important. But like I said, I grew up in a football town in Berwick, Pennsylvania. It kind of started from there. Just years later, I decided to start a website, and I'm 22 years in it. And listen, it's always been about the kids. That's what my website is. And if we could help at least one kid, whether it's get into college or put his information out there that maybe someone may see, that's what we do.
And I did speak a little briefly about some of those topics that can be found on the website, like the scores and the
Mhm.
schedules. But can you give us a deeper dive into all the content that you and your staff puts out?
Just to give you an idea, like the end of the year, I email the coaches and I put out all the statistics, offense, defense, special teams through the year. And I kind of use that information too for the kids that are juniors, sophomore, freshmen. I also email coaches for player previews. So I leave it up to them because they know the player the best. I have a list of everything I'm looking for. And when it's filled out, there's statistics, there's a quote from the coach about the player, their height, weight, all the important information that, like colleges are looking for. So that's some of the things. I have reporters during the season. We cover games all over Pennsylvania, and we kind of really gear up when it's playoff time. We try to cover as many as we can. I always tell a kid, you could Google your name on my website. You're somewhere on there, whether it's we covered you in a game, the player preview. I also put a list together of players to watch. I don't rank kids like some of these outlets with stars and stuff like that. To me, it's okay to have those stars around your name, but the top players, listen, the colleges know who you are. I think for us, it's helping those kids that might be looking Division 2, Division 3, maybe one AA that maybe were overlooked. And that's where I think it's real important to get those kids information out there, because you could be the top player, like the top linebacker in the country. Listen, everyone's going to know there's nothing more I could do to help you. Probably have like over 30 offers, but it's those kids that don't have any offers, that maybe, they're just 2 inches too short or this, that, and you try to help those kids.
And one of the topics that I really wanted to cover was that all
Mhm.
academic team that you guys put
Yes.
out. And I know it's a couple different tiers. So can you kind of speak on how you get onto that list and what's the process of putting that together?
When I email out the coaches, I tell them, listen, I can't get this information without you. Basically, contact them early January. March 1st is when I'll put it out. I'll keep adding kids each day, each week. And I've been doing that. It's important coaches taking the time, fill out the information. And again, there's no limit. If you have 40 kids that are either on the gold team, bronze, or silver, that shows you succeed on the field and off the field. And that's so important. Unfortunately, we don't get every school participate. If I did, I'd probably have on the Eastern PA football 3,000 to maybe 4,000 kids. I think I'm over 2,000 right now. And that's probably just under half the schools in Eastern PA. Like I said, we keep updating it. I'll keep it on there for a while. That's one of the things I'm very proud of, to show the student athletes in Pennsylvania.
And what are the different districts that you guys mainly cover in Eastern PA?
So we cover District 1, District 2, 3, 4, 11, and 12, and then like the Interact independent schools. So basically, we cover from Philly to Scranton to Harrisburg.
And I know there's also a little section on your website that's kind of like an out of state section.
Yes.
So for some of those kids who are maybe like from neighboring states like New Jersey, is this still a website that they can find themselves on and so they can be exposed to college coaches and stuff?
I do get contacts from kids from out of state, so I will help them that way also. We get a lot of coaches because I have a page for like open dates and for coaching jobs, and I literally get schools from California to Florida to Canada that contact me. So I've developed a nice little database with coaches all over the country, and they contact me, kids contact me. And a lot of it I probably do on social media, especially Twitter. So a kid may say, hey, check out my video. So I'll check it out and I'll do a little comment and retweet it. Listen, I have 20 some thousand followers. It goes out to a lot of people. And you never know who will see it. So again, that's an avenue that might help someone. I have a little story to tell you. So years ago, I got an email from a lady who was moving from New Jersey to the Lehigh Valley, and she had 2 boys that she wanted to go to first, a very good academic school, and they played football. So they're looking for kind of a combination. So I suggested some schools. Well, the school is Parkland. These kids actually moved to Parkland, and they ended up being like all state players. They went on to play college football. And the great thing was, years later, and I totally forgot about it, the lady actually contacted me and said, thank you, because I took your advice and it was the best fit. These kids learned to do well in school first. Listen, they were very talented kids. So, they were very well prepared for that. But yeah, in that situation, just innocent little email and just making a suggestion. This is my top school. Here's a couple others. It turned out to be a really great story.
And that's even coming from the parents' side, but how important are these websites for those college coaches who are kind of in the process of finding different recruits and being able to click on a website and see everything that they need to know?
With my website, there's Pennsylvania Football News. There's a lot of great websites in Pennsylvania. We all have that goal, and that goal is to help these kids. I try to put out as much information as I can. I do a thing that's called player previews in 100 days. So it's a 100-day countdown. But I also add more players throughout the the season and I put that list together. I think it's very important. One is to get the correct information on there because you don't want to put Johnny Smith is 6'3" and he's really 5'10". There's reliable websites like mine that colleges have gone on for many, many years. And again, I focus a lot on Division 2, Division 3, 1AA. There's some Division 1 kids that do get overlooked. I do get emails a lot from different coaches or recruiters from different colleges, and they may be looking for a certain position and certain information. So I'll put it out there for the coaches, and they usually give me a good list. I could provide that to the college coach. So that does help.
And who are some of your favorite players or coaches that you've been able to cover over the years?
There's so many. I mean, just here in the Lehigh Valley, recently, Jahan Dotson, a kid that's going to be drafted, might be a late first round, early second round. He's actually from my hometown of Nazareth. Saquon Barkley. Here's a guy that played at Whitehall. So that's a couple players, but there's so many. I mean, every year, Tyler Boyd, who was just in the Super Bowl, he played at Clareton in Western PA. I happened to cover him all 4 state championships. I'll tell you what, he was probably the greatest high school football players that I saw live. His performance was second to none.
Who are then some of the upcoming players, maybe some juniors or seniors who are ready to take that next step? Like, who are some of the people that we should look out for?
There's so many players coming up. Javon Willems. So he's one of the top linemen in Pennsylvania. He's been getting a lot of Division 1 looks. Penn State had offered him, a whole bunch of teams had offered him. Penn State was his dream and finally committed. I would say Marquise Willems. He's a running back from Bishop McDevitt. He is getting a lot of looks at Division 1. So he's a guy that I definitely would keep an eye on. There's a guy that I've seen a lot of tape on from Western PA. His name is Tamir Robinson. He's at Brashear. He is definitely a talent out there, but there's so many different players to choose from, but that's just a few.
And I know you actually do work with the PSFCA and also,
Mhm.
the Big 33 football game. So can you talk a little about your involvement with the Big 33?
Gary Cottrell is the one who runs it. For me, I basically promote whatever he needs. They recently announced the Big 33 and the 2 East-West games, working behind the scenes, promoting a lot of that information, football camps, and that's where I met Ron. We actually broadcasted one of his camps with D11 Sports. Again, probably this year, we might do that again at the Allentown camp. I've known Gary for many years. He does a tremendous job. And listen, no all-star game could say what the Big 33 is, and that's at least one player from every Super Bowl has come through the Big 33. So it says a lot about Pennsylvania and the teams. Whether it's Ohio they're playing Maryland right now. Back in the day, they played, I think, Texas one year. But I know other states have reached out to maybe play in this tremendous all-star game.
And just like you mentioned, D11 Sports actually did cover one of Ron's combines that we had in Allentown. So can you speak a little about your relationship with Ron and how you guys got connected?
They reached out to my partner, Al DiCarlo, and they asked if we could broadcast the combine that he had. We basically focused on different aspects, whether it was, doing the 40 time or different events there. We're just commenting on the players and the event. We got Ron on. He kind of talked about what his involvement is with the Big 33 and what his camps are about. And listen, Ron does a tremendous job. He goes all over in Pennsylvania and he runs these camps. And then he has the big one basically leading up to the Big 33. And it gives these young men an opportunity to showcase themselves. The Big 33, they're looking at these and they may see future Big 33 or East West players through these camps. So I think it's a great opportunity for these young players to go to these camps, and they should go to these camps.
And like I said, in the beginning here, I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time, but what is truly like your favorite part about covering football and specifically at that high school level?
It's still a pure sport. There's no money involved. Kids that are 14 to 18 years old. And sometimes I think adults forget that these are kids. Okay. And some of them, they're probably never going to play sports after the high school level. It's a real small percentage of kids that go Division 1 or play 1 AA or Division 3 or Division 2. I mean, Division 2 is probably as good as it was 20 years ago when it was Division 1. So there's very good players at that level at Division 2 and Division 3. And you see it in the NFL. You just never know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be a record setting field goal. A kid throws 8 touchdowns, breaks a record. You just never know what's going to happen. And that's what I love about it. From doing this for 20 some years, probably my top game that I enjoyed was the state championship game where Mannheim Central had to block a extra point in a snowstorm and did it to win their first ever state championship. That's probably my best moment in the 20 some years of covering high school football. And that's what it's about. You see the highs and the lows.
Well, I got one final question for you. So we usually like to end on a high note here. So what's one piece of advice that you would like to share with any high school or maybe junior high football player?
Probably the biggest advice is make sure you're doing it in the classroom. That's the first thing. Because if you're not doing it there, they're not going to look at you. Put the time in. They always said there's no I in team, and that's so true. Be a team player. Be the first one there, the last one to leave. But also, I go by 3 things. Education. You got to do it there. Obviously, football, you got to put the time in, not only with yourself, but with your teammates. And in the community, be part of your community. Do good things. It's snowing. Go around shoveling. Help the older people. Do stuff like that. So, probably one more thing I'll add to it, today's world, social media. Once you post something, it's going to be out there. I've seen through the years Division 1 players post stupid things and lose their scholarship. Be accountable for what you do, because once you put it out there, you got to be accountable. Think before you do something.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your info with us today and really letting us take a deeper look into Eastern PA football. Hopefully some of the athletes that are watching this might be featured on your website one day. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.